On the red carpet this morning, we are talking tourism, such an important topic and something very close to my heart. I had the opportunity to visit a very old house, and it comes with a beautiful history. It's a beautiful boutique hotel, 5 star, mind you, but it feels more like a 10 star once you're there. And here to tell us more is the Group Marketing Manager Justin Exner. Justin will tell us more about this specific boutique hotel that I visited, but it's also part of a group. Justin, good morning and welcome on the red carpet.
Hi, Annette. Nice to speak to you. Thanks for letting me on the red carpet.
You guys rolled out the red carpet when we had the privilege of visiting Hohenort. Am I saying it right, Hohenort?
Yes, that's right. Cellars-Hohenort. So it's actually, if I tell you a little bit about the hotel, so we have 2 hotels in the collection. We're part of the McGrath collection. They're all boutique hotels. So it's a fantastic property located in Constantia, in the heart of Constantia Valley.
Beautiful.
52 acres and over 9 acres of property, which is very rare these days to have a hotel with such big grounds. And we're very lucky because we're right against the eastern slope of Table Mountain, and we're part of the small luxury hotels of the world. So we're very much a boutique brand.
Yes.
And we have 3 hotels, in 3 iconic locations, which is Constantia, we have the Marine in Hermanus, and then we have the Plettenberg in Plettenberg Bay.
Yes.
And so it's almost like, I think I mentioned to you before when I met you, was they all have their own personalities and different feeling, but they all have the same sense of hospitality.
Yes.
We all say all 3 of our hotels are definitely a world away from the ordinary.
Yeah, definitely. And if I think about Hohenort, it's beautiful. The gardens, it's really, and there's 2 beautiful pools, but the hospitality is something that definitely stands out.
Yes, absolutely. You can many times in hotels you can build hotels and you can have great facilities, but it's really about the people. And I think that's the thing why we've been so successful, and guests not only enjoy staying with us, but they come back and they fall in love and they stay with us again and again. It's really about the people and us creating a space where you really feel like it's a home that you can enjoy and you're part of the space. You're not just a guest. We really welcome you as a friend and you leave as a friend.
That is something I can agree on. While we were there and having breakfast, I found that there's a lot of people that just pop in for breakfast or just for a meal, and it's so beautiful there, and people are definitely returning, even the locals.
Yes, we're very much connected with the local community, so we have great support from the locals and Cape Townians alike. We're only 15 to 20 minutes from the city centre, and I know Cape Town's got horrific traffic sometimes, but if you catch it in a good time, 20 minutes. But we have people from right next door, and we've always kept our restaurants are very much accessible to the locals. We're not fine dining, what we call refined dining, and we have beautiful location because we offer from breakfast to lunch and for dinner. We also do high teas on the weekends, that's Saturdays and Sundays, which is very popular, and we do afternoon tea as well every day. So we've got a variety of different options, and with it's nice, even now when you get these beautiful sun breaks, to sit in the garden is truly something special.
You mentioned that this is part of the of a range, and you mentioned somebody's name. Give us some more info on that.
Yeah, so we're part of the McGrath collection, and McGrath was a very famous lady back quite a few years ago, and she started the first hotel in 1981, which would have been the Plettenberg. So she bought Plettenberg, and then we had Cellars-Hohenort, and then we had Marine and Hermanus, but she was the first female hotelier, especially in South Africa, to own 3 5-star hotels. And she had a real passion. She had 2 passions in life. One was people. So she loved decor and food, but she also loved people. So it was a perfect transition for her to get into the hotel business. She passed quite a few years ago. Her family, her children are still run the business, but her legacy for hospitality is still carry on. Is what we used to call her Mrs. M. And that's very much part and parcel of our fabric of our business is in the McGrath collections that we carry ethos is that it's all about the people. So it was always the guests first, and it's carried through even today, in 2026.
There's also something that you hold very dear or close to your heart is working with women and female empowerment.
Yes, absolutely. So we're quite unique, I think, because if I go from the top down, our CEO is female, our kind of 2 IC, our main revenue person's female. Of our HODs, I think I'm one of the only guys. I think it's just myself and the HR manager, but all 3 of our GMs are women, and our group executive chef is a woman. And the interesting thing is you have to have that feminine touch and woman's hand on the tiller. And most of our engagement is from women. So over 65% of people that follow us on social media or engage with our product is women. And I know I'm a guy saying this, but it is really women that make decisions and women that push it forward. And that's fantastic because we also have a lot of young people coming in, from students and old. And we're also quite unique is that we have staff that stayed on for a long time, and that's really special that can have that experience, And we have somebody, for example, Martha, that's in Plettenberg. She's been with us for over 35 years.
Wow.
And actually, her first job, she was 18 out of school, and Mrs. McGrath brought her in, and she's been with us ever since. And she's, she progressed from reception right up to duty manager, and it's one of the few gems, in our group, and we've got quite a few of them.
And Justin, your own journey in the hospitality industry, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think, and I didn't necessarily want to do tourism, I kind of fell into it, but I was at the airport once looking at this poster, those old posters, I think it was old cigarette adverts that would show these people flying and going to ski holidays and stuff at the old Joburg airport. And then I ended up working for a travel agency, and I studied tourism a bit and came down to Cape Town, and I was quite lucky that I was very young. I was 26 when I became a GM of a boutique hotel, and I remember I was only 26 years old and I had over 50 staff, and I had staff in their 50s, but it was a real jump, kind of a jump into the unknown, and that was, I think it was Village in Life. It was many years ago, almost 20 years ago, and then I've always just stayed in hospitality. From that, I ended up doing project management. I worked in Nigeria for quite a few years, and in Kenya, and in Joburg, and I also had my own little business on the side. Amongst all this, I decided to do a master's. I ended up doing an MBA, and I actually almost went on to do a PhD, and I didn't want to be an academic. So I have a kind of operations and kind of marketing background, but my passion has always been hospitality, but marketing and branding is really what I enjoy. And what I really like with this brand is that it's because we are independent and small, we have a lot more flexibility to be creative and ultimately just improve the guest experience, which kind of makes it fun every day, I guess.
It is fun, and I find once again, I'm going to go back to when I was there, it's really a nice place to be, and I could pick up on the positive vibe between the people and between the staff. Everybody's really happy to be there.
It is, and and I think one of the privileges we have, and I think maybe I'll use my position, is that, I'm just a brand custodian, so my job is just to protect the brand. But I think it's a real privilege if you think about people have made a choice to experience your product. And there's something quite special about that in this world, that everything is so fast and there's so much choice. And the one thing we have as a hotel, it's all about that slowing down, and we have a product that's very present. And that's something which I don't think will go away. And as much as technology is so important, we use a lot of technology in the back end. For hotels, there's a lot of technology that's used. But in this world, it's so nice to have something to slow down to and kind of, smell the rose and take time to have tea with somebody and have a conversation. And it's kind of that lost art of slowing down. And I think that's really what makes it so special. And then the other part which you mentioned too about people being happy is that you've also got to work at a place that you enjoy. I mean, if you want to, you've got to espouse the love for what you do, because the guests really pick up on it. They've traveled so far. You'll have guests that come from Tokyo, from Sweden, you name it, fly so many miles, and they've chosen to come to not only South Africa, but to come to Cape Town, and then they've chosen to come to our hotel. Something really special. And we really like meeting people from all over the world. That's one of the greatest things about tourism, is that you get meet people from next door, right, to the outside of the world. So it's always changing.
The thing is, tourism and travel, it's a deliberate decision that person has taken to leave his or her house and come to your facility. And that is something we all need to respect. As for people, maybe not in hospitality, but seeing the tourists, they made a decision to come here. We need to respect that.
Absolutely, and it's such an interesting thing. If you think about tourism, is that people aren't just, when they go on holiday, it's a whole bunch of experience that they want to experience, and the hotel falls one part of that, because obviously it's an emotive decision. You want to get away, you need to relax. Wellness is very important. So for us, big trend at the moment is wellness. Wellness in state of body and wellness state of mind. It's so important post-COVID, and people are now consciously picking hotels or experiences where they can kind of relax. What they're doing is that it's a combination of your flights and sightseeing things and all these things. But Cape Town, for the last 2 decades now, has done a fantastic job at promoting Cape Town and the Western Cape. And there's a reason why we're the most popular destination, not just in in South Africa, but in Africa, is that there's so much to do, do and see. And if you come and stay, for example, in Constantia, yes, you've got the buzz of the city. You can still drive into the city to see the waterfront and the top 5 attractions, but we're in the heart of all the Constantia wine farms. People like to go to Cape Point with the red bus. And it's so interesting is that tourists, when they come here, they kind of get the maximum they can get out of the city because they've got such a limited time. And quite a lot of times the locals haven't experienced it. We always say we'll go up to Table Mountain next week, or we'll go up to Robben Island next month. And the other part that's really exciting to see is, is that the season is becoming so flat. We're not just winter and summer anymore. People are traveling in winter even because they get better deals and it's not as busy. And so, but it makes us having to evolve. There's a lot of development that's happening in the city, and which is really positive. But as you said, that people have decided to come and experience on holiday, and they really use this as our base camp. And I think there's something very special about, especially staying in hotels, especially luxury 5-star hotels, that sense of coming home and looked after. So the way we like to term it is almost silent luxury. We're ever present, but we don't intrude. So you always feel looked after, but we don't bother you, if that makes sense.
I just want to touch on the Hohenort itself. How many rooms and villas and where are all of them situated? I think you can host quite a lot of people there.
Yeah, so we're 9 acres of property, but we're actually quite a small hotel, it's only 51 rooms. So we have 49 rooms and 2 villas. And so they range from, our 1-bedroom standard bedroom classic rooms right up to our 3-bedroom villas. And our most famous being the Madiba Villa, which actually is where Nelson Mandela stayed before he was released. And that one even has its own swimming pool. So we have a variety of rooms in between. But in the category, there's ones with garden rooms, there are suites, there are rooms with their own balconies, beautiful views looking out towards False Bay. And all of that is surrounded by the garden. So whether, and one of the things that we decided is we kept it specifically boutique and small, that you have real space in your rooms. And that's something which is very rare these days, is to have rooms with generous space. And if you remember the room that you stayed in, you were in the McGrath Villa, and quite a lot of space. That had its own kitchen and lounge, 2 big bedrooms, ensuite bathrooms. And guests really enjoy that, and they'll pay a premium for the quality and value that they get out of the space. Yeah.
If somebody wants to go visit Hohenort, or maybe visit the website or make a booking, how can they do that?
So the best way is you can either go on lizmcgrathcollection.com, or you can just go on the Cellars-Hohenort .co.za, and we're also available on obviously Instagram and Facebook. And then for any lunch or breakfast or dinner reservations, you can do it via our website, or you can just give us a ring. And we are quite popular, so I'd always advise guests that just phone ahead to avoid disappointment, but we definitely allow walk-ins.
Definitely allow walk-ins and make your bookings. They are quite full. We saw that people are coming in and out, the locals, tourists, people from out of town. People like to go to the Cellars-Hohenort. Last thing, the cellars, there used to be wine produced on the farm.
Correct. So a long time ago, and I might get the dates wrong, but actually, so when it was it's actually 2 properties, and that's why our name is Cellars-Hohenort. It's actually 2 different properties. So originally it was the Cellars. So if you remember the reception, that was a cellar for a wine farm, and that goes back to the 1800s. And then a year later, McGrath bought the Hohenort building, and she kind of merged 2 properties together. So that's why there was a Hohenort building, which is the original manor house, and then there was the Cellars. And that's why we called Cellars-Hohenort. So it was originally a wine farm. We do still have vineyards on our property. We did produce what we called our own Vin de Hohenort. So it was our own type of sweet dessert wine, similar to the Grand Constantia Vin de Constance a few years ago. At the moment, we have the vineyards, and we're just using the grapes from the garden with our vegetable and fruit garden. But we might have plans in the future to relook at that and reawaken the wine story.
That will be very nice. We will definitely be looking forward to that. Justin, thank you so much for your time and telling us about this beautiful boutique hotel. I think we will also pay a visit to your other 2 sisters, and we'll tell our listeners about that. And I know there's some things happening at the Marine. So maybe I can just quickly tell the listeners about what's happening at the Marine Hotel.
Yeah, that's okay. It's very exciting for us. So from the beginning of May for the next 6 weeks, so from the beginning of May to the end of June, the grand old lady Marine's getting a beautiful makeover. So we're redoing a lot of the guest spaces. So from the reception, we're doing beautiful brand new restaurant, and keeping everything within the frame of the hotel, but absolutely beautiful new. And if you remember that the breakfast and lunch experience you had on Conservatory, so it's the same designers, and we're really looking forward to having a brand new refresh marine, which it hasn't had a renovation for a couple of years, and we're excited to open up again at the end of June.
Oh, wonderful. So watch this space, and we will definitely be updating our listeners on that one as well. You must have a wonderful day, and once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your hospitality, and please extend our thanks and our compliments to the rest of the staff.
Thanks, Annette, and thanks for having me on the red carpet.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us on your red carpet.
Cheers, thanks.